Hi guys, Anna here and welcome back to my art channel. Today we're talking about a very interesting question such as a beginner artist, should you start learning art with traditional or digital art tools? If you asked me 5 years ago what I think on the topic, I'd probably tell you, who cares? Just do whatever you want. You want to do digital, just start painting digital and you will be fine. And well, this is the art of the girl whose advice we're not going to listen to today, or at least whose advice I don't think is relevant anymore. Because this girl had no idea how to draw or paint. She had no knowledge of fundamentals such as structures, anatomy, composition, color. This girl just wanted to do pretty digital art and just painting pretty girls in digital art. Yeah, still painting pretty digital art girls, but with a little bit more understanding. And that's only because I went to art school where they forced me to do traditional. So the question still stays, what should you do? And while I can't tell you an exact answer of what applies to you and what's going to be best for you, because I can't see into the future and I don't know which route will take you where, I have a couple of opinions of my own that I want to share with you today. So basically, I think that the best route to take is to, one, start with traditional medium and experiment with all of them. And then two, just kind of go into two routes, right? We have traditional and digital, so you can learn both side by side and learn from one into the other and interchange techniques and just work with everything, right? So that's the second step. And then the final step is to kind of still have all of these hobbies where you go and experiment with other techniques, but just have this like laser focus onto the one you truly want. So for me, that would be just focusing on digital currently while still sometimes experimenting with other traditional mediums so I can keep growing my skills. And that's kind of basically the roadmap that I imagine would be the most successful for somebody who wants to start in art and either doesn't know whether they want to do digital or traditional, or just wants to do digital. But if you really, really want to be really skilled and really good, you should still start with traditional. And I kind of wrote down these 10 ideas why I think this roadmap would be good for you. So if you're curious, keep listening. Okay, so number one, you already started with traditional. That's right. When you were a kid and your parents gave you a piece of paper and a Crayola or a pencil and you started doodling, that was traditional art. You already started experimenting with this. When you went to kindergarten, when you went to kindergarten and school and you had art classes, they taught you to experiment with different supplies. You probably had gouache or acrylic, you probably had watercolor, and you definitely had markers, Crayolas, and pencils. So great, you already got started. What next? Should you just split right now? Number two, every single media is unique. It is so different that you just simply can't use the same technique on every single media. The way you work with a pencil is different than when you work with acrylics. The way you work with ink is different from markers or oil paint. And obviously all of them are different from digital art. So why you need to learn all of them is so you can take the best pieces, the best techniques, and the best knowledge that you achieve from all of these beautiful supplies and transfer it into your digital art. And it will not only help you grow as an artist and teach you new techniques, you can come up with your own techniques. There are limitless possibilities to what kind of techniques and ideas you can bring with you from traditional media into digital media. And that will help you develop your style faster and will make it more unique. Number three, in traditional art, there is no undo button. And I kind of separated it from everyone else, and it might seem like a small thing, but I promise you it is not. The undo button or the layers are a huge part of why digital art is so appealing to beginner artists. First of all, you can make as many mistakes as you want. As long as you create it on your new layer, you can delete it and start over. And the same with undo, right? You did something silly and it doesn't look good. You just undo and try again and again and again and again until it looks somewhat decent. And while that's amazing, and I use it all the time, this is my favorite thing, of course, but as a beginner artist, it just slows down your process, don't you think? So if you had to draw a portrait and something didn't work out, you just undo, try the eye again. The nose didn't work out, undo, try again. The ear looks weird and wobbly, undo, try again. Great, you figured out how to do a portrait. And it looks beautiful. Good. The next time you do it, you will also make the same mistakes, maybe a little bit less, but you can still always undo, so you don't worry about it and you just very slowly progress. It's still progress, so don't think I'm saying it's bad. It's amazing. You should totally do it. Any progress is awesome. But what if you had to use a pen to create a portrait? First time it doesn't work out, you have to start again. Second time the nose doesn't work out, you have to start again. And even if the nose doesn't work out for 3-5 times, you have to start again and again until you get it perfect. And by that time, you've already drawn 10 noses, 10 eyes, 10 face shapes that looked good, and you remember how to do it for the next time. So you definitely are not going to make such huge mistakes for these parts of the body. So it teaches you to progress faster because it forces you to kind of think more about what you're doing and just pay more attention. Number 4, traditional art doesn't have all the fancy schmancy adjustment helpful tools that digital media offers you. So for example, the liquify tool that we all probably use and love. I love it so, and I always talk about it in my Patreon. By the way, if you do want to learn some of the fundamentals, I created a bunch of courses for my patrons to go through about shading and sketching and perspective. So if that's something that interests you, check out my Patreon at patreon.com/yourartpath to get access to all of the lessons at learn.yourartpath.com. Okay, and now, so about the fundamentals, right? You have the liquify tool. So if something looks weird with the face, you just kind of move it around. Done. Great. In traditional media, something looks weird with the face, you have to redraw it completely. You can use a light box, right? So you can put a piece of paper under and then just on top, you have the light. So you see some lines, you start drawing and then you draw it better. Cool. That's kind of like layers as well, which you don't have in traditional media unless you like redraw using a light box. And finally, probably one of my personal favorites is all the adjustment modification layers or even camera raw filter on Photoshop. So you use that to change the contrast, brightness, hue, saturation, clarity, add noise, and all other fancy schmancy stuff that you can't really do with traditional unless you take a photograph and then do some editing afterwards. But with the actual painting, you can't really do that. So the reason why I'm saying all this is that traditional media forces you to learn fundamentals. So in order for you to not need to liquefy the face or whatever, you have to know how to draw a portrait. You have to understand anatomy. You have to understand what you're doing. And then you won't need the extra tools. Of course, you can make it better with the extra tools even if you're a professional, but it just forces you to kind of learn at least the basics of fundamentals. You can learn digital art, but you don't have to just focus on digital art alone. You can do other type of art. You can do traditional art, you can do sculpting, you can create video game designs, you can be a graphic designer, you can learn how to write music, you can do poems, you can do writing books, you can act, you can do whatever it is that you want to do that is also creative. And the best part about it is that the more creativity you spread around in different things and have different hobbies, it will all teach you something and it will all come back and inspire your future digital work. At least that's what I believe, and that's the kind of experience that I've had. By the way, if you're enjoying this video, it would help me a lot if you could like, subscribe to my channel for more content, and hit the notification bell button so you don't miss any of my future videos. My channel is still such a baby channel, but all of your support helps so much. Thank you. Okay, number 6, you will have more opportunities if you kind of learn to do both. So for something like Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, it doesn't really matter what kind of style you're working with, digital or traditional. Both are amazing, both work. And for getting commissions and all that stuff, right? Selling your merch, traditional and digital work either way. But there are certain things that are better for one medium than the other. So for example, doing gallery shows, I believe there's one gallery that does digital prints. I don't remember which one, but all of the galleries that are around you are probably promoting traditional art, traditional paintings. So if you are thinking that that's something that you would like to do and you would like to be a part of some gallery and work with them, then traditional art is your best bet. And if you want to do game design or character design or work for some studio, they don't usually take traditional artists. They usually take digital artists. So if that's something that interests you more, then you should do that. And if you're interested in both, well, guess what? You can totally do both. And then you have all the opportunities open to you. So don't feel limited by anything I say or anything anybody else says. Listen to yourself and what you want and experiment. You have all the time in the world to figure out what's best for you. Number 7, and this one is something that I had to feel through myself, and that is, how do you know that you don't like something unless you give it a fair shot? So when I was just first starting out, I did some pencil drawings, a little bit of watercolor, and I thought that was really fun, but I wanted to do digital art, period. And don't tell me otherwise. That's it, digital artist right here. But then I was forced to do other media, and I actually discovered that, well, that was a huge surprise for me. I never really was into like old paintings, like from Renaissance period, for example. And I never really cared about any artists that much from like older times. So Rembrandt, for example, who I adore right now, like he's a genius, but I never cared. And I didn't care because I didn't give it a fair shot. Number 8, it's simply curiosity. So one of the best and most beautiful things I believe about being an artist is that you get to be continuously curious. You get to be curious about how to draw a particular lighting, how to draw a particular face, how to draw a background, how to draw an animal, and you're curious about all of these things. Why are we so attracted to drawing faces? One thing for sure, it's psychological because we have a face, we like looking at faces, great. But like, wouldn't it get boring over time? And the answer is no, because every face is different. And if you're curious about it, you'll feel excited every time. Just like some people, amazing people who only paint mostly mountains. Like, how many mountains can you paint? But they're curious. They're curious about the mountains, the lighting, the clouds, the trees. Happy little trees, and so many other things. These people are curious. These artists are curious. An audience will never get enough. And if you only do like one thing all the time, you will probably get really good at it. But if you stop being so curious and so excited about that one thing, you're running the risk of just pure on boredom. And boredom is horrible. If you're feeling a little bit bored with your work, it is time to draw a different subject. It is time to learn from a different artist or try a different style. So I guess this roadmap that I'm talking about kind of forces you to try a different technique so you don't get bored. Number 9. So other incredible artists also practice both. I've went through some of the people that I follow on Instagram and just a bunch. I clicked on them and I found their traditional art as well. So I'm just going to share it with you in a second. But the point of that is, doesn't matter how good you are. Because you practice other mediums, you're getting better and better and better. So here are some of the artists that I found. And there are many, many, many more incredible artists that practice more than one medium. And if you think about it, if they do it, why can't you? And that brings me to the last point, that is number 10. You should practice all mediums simply because you can. And you can be amazing at all of them, at every single one. Sure, if you want to be a master, you have to have pure on focus. But we're not talking about somebody who's a professional now and listening to my advice. They're probably not listening to my advice. We're talking about beginner artists who want to get started. You can be good at all of them, at least intermediate for sure, until you focus on this one that you really enjoy. And you will know you enjoy it because you tried all of them. And if somebody tells you otherwise and they tell you that they can't do it, then they are just full of start planning ahead on how you can take that journey to learn from all different techniques. And I can talk about this in a different video, but for now, I hope you enjoyed these 10 ideas. Whether you agree or disagree with me, leave a comment down below. I'd love to know what you think. And if I inspired you to try a new medium, also write down below and tell me which one is it, which one are you gonna get started with. So I hope you enjoyed this video because I really, really enjoyed making it. And I hope you stay creative, curious, and I will see you next week. Bye.